A college point guard was shaving points for the mob, deliberately missing shots and turning the ball over to keep his team's winning margin under the number gamblers needed, while his own teammates had no idea. It's the scandal that first proved organized crime could reach directly onto a college basketball court, not just into a boxing ring or a horse track. During the 1978-79 college basketball season, Boston College guard Rick Kuhn conspires with organized crime associates connected to the Lucchese crime family to fix the outcomes of at least 9 Boston College games, not by losing them outright, but through point shaving, deliberately keeping the margin of victory below the number set by bookmakers. Point shaving is a specific kind of fix. The team can still win the game, so casual fans and even most of the players around the fixer often have no idea anything is wrong. Only the final scoreline relative to the point spread matters to the people placing the bets, which makes it far harder to detect than a team simply losing on purpose. The man who recruits Kuhn into the scheme is Henry Hill. Yes, the same Henry Hill later made famous by the film Goodfellas, working alongside mob associates to organize the betting operation. Hill's own later cooperation with the FBI, stemming from unrelated organized crime activity, is part of what eventually exposes the entire point-shaving scheme. Kuhn, in exchange for cash payments, deliberately misses shots, commits unforced turnovers, and manages the pace of games to keep Boston College's winning margin under the spread set by bookmakers, all while the team continues winning most of its games outright, making the fix nearly invisible from the outside. The scheme unravels not because anyone noticed unusual missed shots, but because Henry Hill, facing his own unrelated legal troubles, becomes a federal informant and enters witness protection, and in the process, details the entire Boston College fix to FBI investigators as part of his broader cooperation. The case becomes a landmark prosecution. It's one of the first times federal sports bribery and racketeering statutes are used specifically to prosecute a college basketball point-shaving conspiracy, setting legal precedent for how organized crime infiltration of amateur sports would be pursued going forward. Rick Kuhn is convicted in 1981 on charges connected to the point-shaving scheme and sentenced to 10 years in federal prison, later reduced on appeal. He becomes, at the time, one of the only major American college athletes ever convicted and imprisoned specifically for point shaving, rather than simply banned from the sport. The scandal shocks college sports precisely because Boston College wasn't a struggling, obscure program. It was a nationally competitive team, and the fix operated for most of an entire season without a single coach, teammate, or opposing scout raising an alarm. The case becomes a foundational reference point for how the NCAA and law enforcement think about sports gambling infiltration in college athletics for decades afterward, cited repeatedly in later point-shaving cases at other schools, including similar scandals at Arizona State and Northwestern in subsequent decades, each following a strikingly similar playbook. Kuhn serves his reduced sentence and largely disappears from public life afterward, one of the clearest cautionary examples in American sports history of how a single compromised player without any teammates' knowledge can expose an entire program to a federal racketeering investigation. Ironically, decades later, the explosive growth of legal sports betting has brought fresh warnings from the NCAA about exactly this kind of vulnerability, with modern athletes now targeted directly through social media rather than through mob intermediaries like Henry Hill. underlying playbook, a compromised insider quietly shading a margin, remains almost identical. The full case file, the Goodfellas connection, the federal sting, and how this case shaped every point-shaving prosecution since is linked below. New files unlock every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.